Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Roundtable. I'm He Young. Today, we'll have a discussion with Macao's young innovators, students, and entrepreneurs, those who are driving change and shaping the future of this dynamic region. Their insights will give us a glimpse of the exciting possibilities ahead for Macao. And with December the 20th just around the corner, we're gearing up to celebrate a major milestone, the 25th anniversary of the Macao Special Administrative Region. It's the perfect time to hear from the next generation of leaders about what's in store for this vibrant city. Hello, everybody. Whether you're here in the audience or tuning in from around the world, welcome to Youth Talk, Macao's next chapter. And this is a truly special occasion as we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Macao Special Administrative Region. I'm CGTN's He Yang.
And I'm Steve Hatherley, and it is such an honor to be a part of today's program. I think we're going to have a whole lot of fun, and we're going to learn a lot of things today as well. And as was highlighted in the opening video, Macao's growth has been phenomenal. That's the best word to describe it. The city has excelled in so many different exciting ways.
Absolutely. You know, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to visit, Macao is such a cool place to go. They have world-class hotels, world-class food, and of course, world-class people. And since it came back to the motherland in 1999, it truly has flourished as a bridge between the East and West.
It sure has. And today, together, we're going to discover exactly what makes Macao tick. We have a lot to do today. It's going to be a busy program. We have some wonderful guests joining us here. We're going to be talking about culture, education, the economy, and also how the relationship between Macao and the mainland has shaped Macao into the amazing place that it is today.
Now, let's dive into the cultural resonance of this discussion, and we're so happy to bring up incredible guests. And I'm introducing Miss Tong Ho Lam. Welcome, and also Miss Liu Ruonan. Come on and join us up in the stage and have a seat.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
And I'm very pleased to welcome our guests again, Miss Tong Ho Lam, a member of the Macao SAR Youth Affairs Committee and the Vice President of Youth Association of People.
Yes, and joining Ms. Tong is Ms. Liu Ruonan from Macao SAR. She is a student majoring in English at Peking University. That was my English was my major as well. So we can talk Shakespeare a little bit later, maybe after the show. Again, thank you so much for being with us today. Looking forward to our chat, so let's get into it.
Yes, let's do. And you've seen what our studio audience and also our online audience have to say about amazing places or things that they think of when we mention Macao. But what about for you guys? And let's start with Ms. Tong. You know, what's that special place that maybe outsiders don't know that much about, but you're like, it's treasured, and share with us today?
I think that's definitely a really good question because, I believe the everyday lives of Macao could be very interesting in the eyes of tourists. And especially what makes traveling actually interesting is being able to experience different lifestyles, cultures, exploring the unknown. And a sense of novelty can actually evoke the feeling of satisfaction. If I were to recommend lesser-known places or attractions in Macao right now, I would suggest places rich in local flavor. For example, the historic Senado Square and the new Central Hotel in Macao, which opened recently after renovation. So it has nearly 100-year history since 1928, actually. So like if we were to look at the design of it, the meticulous decor inside evokes a sentiment of the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So it's like we're traveling back in time where the East meets the West. And actually, the hotel was listed as one of the Macao's heritage site in 1992. And the surrounding area also features streets, ancient streets and traditional shops, which are all really interesting places to go to.
So you'll have a full schedule if you visit Macao, is what you're saying.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's talk food for a second, if we could. Egg tarts, Young mentioned the egg tarts already. Internationally, I think the egg tarts are well known. What other dishes do we need to try if we go to Macao?
I think Portuguese chicken, maybe you won't want to miss it, because it's kind of It's basically tender chicken that is cooked with various ingredients. And I think the ingredients and the sauce are very important to know because it's like a combination of the Chinese and also Western sauces and ingredients, such as we know there are coconuts, coconut powder, curry powder, onions, and sometimes it would have white wine, and also it has beer from Portuguese.
Oh,
so I
lovely.
think it's a combination of different ingredients.
Thank you, chef. So you have the recipe. You can share that a little bit later.
Absolutely. And when we talk about, let's say, film, music, and these other forms of entertainment, how do you see Mainland, the influence, and also, what's original Macau? And it must be an interesting fusion as such. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about arts and entertainment, and how do you feel about it?
In terms of arts and entertainment, Macau hosts various performance. So back in 2023, there are more than 2,000 large-scale performances and over 10,000 artistic and culturistic performances were organized by the local government and private enterprises as well. So it attracted nearly 20 million participants, generating approximately 1.1 billion box office revenues. And there are many different festivals as well, including the Arts Festival, the Macau International Music Festival, as well as the Macau Movie Festival. So these are all really interesting. And also recently, Zhang Yimou, a renowned director of our country, directed a stage play titled Macau 2049. So these are all really interesting choices for leisure and entertainment.
Again, we're going to have a full schedule if we visit Macau. When we think about the region and we think about things like fashion trends or social media trends, things like that, what do you think are the differences or perhaps the similarities there?
Well, I think there are no such significant differences between the youth from Macau and the youth from the Chinese mainland. I do feel like all of us are highly influenced by WeChat or Little Red Book. I would say I always look up practical advice from the Little Red Book. So I think there is not much kind of differences between us. And in terms of fashion and culture, I do see we share a lot of similarities as well. For example, me and my roommates all share the same taste in music, as well as in such as films and so on. I would say, yeah, when I first came here as a freshman, I feel like we are coming from a big family. It's like we don't have any geographical boundaries between us. Yeah,
I know what you're saying about WeChat. Even as an expat, I learned very quickly in China, WeChat is life. If you don't have it, you can't do anything here, right? Yeah. Very good. A question, if you don't mind, about, we were chatting before the show with the audience about Portuguese culture and the influence there. There's a remarkable blend, I think, that's happening in Macau. So what do you think that fusion of culture, how is that fusion of culture represented?
Well, we were to talk about Macanese, so basically Macau-born Portuguese descendants. In my perspective, I think they have actually fully integrated into the Macau society. Driven by great love, the Chinese and Portuguese descendants, they have broken down their ethnic barriers, came together, and gave birth to many children with mixed heritage. So over generations, there are many children with different percentage of genes. And even if we're talking about Portuguese descendant families, they retain a lot of their Portuguese cultural traditions and how people love coming together and they would form cohesive groups and circles, and they would have lots of different Portuguese cultural traditional style social gatherings. And so yeah, everything's just coming together. And even we also celebrate different festivals, there's this Lusofonia festival where we celebrate Macau as a bridging role for different groups of it's just a really wide range of diversity, people with different backgrounds coming together. And then we also celebrate Christmas and Easter. So, other than enjoying Christmas music, people would also play mahjong during Christmas holidays. And yeah, in Chinese New Year, even we see Macanese people celebrating with the local Chinese, we would give red pockets, enjoy lion dances, moon gazing. Yeah, it's just
so you
a
have
mix
the
of
best
culture.
of both worlds, and with Christmas coming up, and also the Spring Festival or the Chinese New Year coming up, and it's a very festive season for especially you guys, since you enjoy both or whatnot. Yes, and talking about cultural integration, and then it happens in so many shapes and forms. In the last 25 years, we've seen that in terms of culture and arts and so many aspects. You mentioned that there are some wonderful performances that could originally be of mainland production, but it enjoys Macao twist. And also, Ronan, right before we started the show, we had this mega discussion about you having this experience of playing in an orchestra, and you got quite the sort of encounter with some top musicians of your peers coming from the mainland too.
Yeah, I was in my middle school, and I've been a member of the orchestra of the School of Music of Macao's Conservatory, and I performed orchestra with the top and talented musicians from the middle school of Central Conservatory of Music in the Chinese mainland. And at that time, I feel like it was an amazing experience for me, because for the one thing, I can learn practical musical skills from them, and also the whole process of practice was very smooth, and the whole show was like a success. And it was like, I feel like we were coming from a big family, and in terms of music preferences or like our favorite composers or the least favorite composers, we share a lot of similarities.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when we think of musicians, especially when you're practicing an instrument, at least from a little kid's experience growing up in the mainland, I'm thinking about hours and hours of practice, and to get into a top music school, you got to be the best of the best. What is learning a musical instrument like for you guys? I mean, is it a similar kind of experience? And was it like, wow, you guys are kind of amazing when you see those guys, who are kind of, past the selection to be there in this sort of exchange program?
I would say a lot of Macau youth, they all harness a skill in musical instruments.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, a lot of them.
That is the total opposite of Canadian children. Not musically inclined at all. It's the hours and hours and hours of practice we have to do.
Yeah, and also I think Macau government always embrace different forms of arts to be taught with these children and especially youth in Macau. And so there are many opportunities for us to join, for example, like what Kalan was saying, it's like the art festivals and international music festivals. It not only welcomes the international or national artists, but also youth from Macau. So we can all gather in together and perform together in that events.
Yeah, I would also like to jump in a bit about here, how Macau is trying to develop into a rural Asia city. So other than musical instruments, filmmaking is also something that the Macau government has been trying to push. So, how Macau has been it's a relatively small market compared to other, big cities like Hong Kong. And well, although it has a relatively small market with fewer resources, the government has put it in policy to support films so that they would support feature-length films, short films, and so that local enthusiasts would have the opportunities to ignite their creative passion. So I too have participated in one of these programs, and so in which I directed a short film titled The Granny, and it was screened in theaters in Macau, and it was also screened recently again earlier this month. So we see that the government is doing things and are putting policies in place so that our culture can be further developed and thrived.
Yeah, and Ronan, you are studying in the mainland right now. So in what ways have you maybe participated or seen your peers participate in these active cultural incorporation programs here in the mainland maybe?
Yeah, I think students and my peers, they are trying their best to participate in the cultural exchange programs and so on. In my school, set me as an example, I've joined an association in Macau. It's like a Macau association, and we will host Cantonese program and Cantonese language learning program every year. And then there are many students from Chinese mainland. They would come here to have a try and try to learn how Cantonese pronounced. And I think like they are really curious about how like Macao people or Macanese culture looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say, I learned something as we were preparing for this program because I didn't know, for some reason, I'm a little embarrassed to admit to this, that actually in Macau, lots of folks use Cantonese. So I kind of just assumed it was something else. But you know, the Chinese language has many variations, and the Cantonese dialect is what you guys all can speak so fluently, right? Yeah. So a huge thank you to our lovely guests, Ms. Tong Ho Lam, a member of the Macau SAR Youth Affairs Committee, and Ms. Liu Ruonan, student at Peking University, for sharing your invaluable perspective. Let's give them a big round of applause. Okay, it's time to go back to school.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and education plays such a vital role in personal growth as well as the growth of Macau. And to discuss this cultural, or more like educational exchange and cooperation segment, we have two wonderful guests ready to join us on stage, Professor Zhou Mingming and Oh Jiajun. Welcome. And please allow me to introduce, we're really lucky to have a true expert in this field with us, Professor Zhou Mingming, Associate Dean of the Faculty of Education at the University of Macau.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Absolutely.
It's my pleasure.
And also we have Oh Ka-chun. He goes by Justin as well. Shall we call you Justin today?
Yeah.
Okay,
no problem.
that's great. He is a student of Schwarzman College at Tsinghua University here in Beijing. Again, welcome, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's start with a question for you, Jiajun. So you've studied in Macau and California as well as Beijing, and in fact, you're studying in one of the most prestigious universities here in China. So tell us, what is that difference in experience being in all these different educational institutions?
Well, first of all, I have a keyword for the experience studying in Beijing, or like the study culture. It's hardworking, basically.
Hardworking?
Hardworking. There's more exam-based assessment, and students love studying at library and drilling ideas and being innovative at the same time. We love to share ideas. And what I feel really interesting is the community is really supportive. As an example, I want to reach out to some unfamiliar industry or some new area. I talk to professors. They are, like most of them are just happy, willing to share their contacts or even arrange meetings. Also, there's a difference in hierarchy between professors and students. We tend to show more respect to our professors instead of just be friends. So for California, the study culture is more like how engaging, I would say, engaging. People, students over there will be more active in class, in participation in discussion. They are encouraged to take their ownership of learning.
That's a great mix, though, for you, I guess, right? Because you had a different experience in one country than you had in a different country. So you can take the best of both of those experiences and form what works best for you.
Right, exactly. So this is like Macau, exactly. Like it's a hybrid form of both of those places.
Professor Zhou, could you give us perhaps an overview of Macau's education system and maybe a little bit about what it's like to study there, the experience there?
The education in Macau actually displays specific features of its own. Because we have never put into place any centralized system. So in Macau, the first thing that comes to people's mind is the diversity, or I would say a highly decentralized system. So by this, I mean, in Macau, there are 76 schools across Macau, across the island, and it's predominated by private schools. Over 90% are private schools. Only very few are public schools. And depending on who runs the school, the principal or the board of school have all the decision making in terms of the school curriculum, textbooks, or even the medium instruction of language. So you will see some schools, they would teach kids in Mandarin, and some in Cantonese, and some in English, and some in Portuguese. And now there's a trend in Macau that schools are pushing towards the trend of holding bilingual education. And in the Chinese mainland, we think of bilingual, that means Chinese and English. But in Macau, it could mean Chinese and Portuguese, or English and Portuguese. So different schools have different thoughts and philosophies, and this diversity actually meets different needs of the parents and students.
So for the parents then, I guess they make a decision when their children are very young, which there's a buffet of languages to choose from. Which direction they want their kids to go. That decision's made at an early age.
Yes, it has to be, but that also presents challenges for some parents because the kids are too young to talk to. So they have no idea about their future. So it's all the parents. But then the parents have to think more about what they expect their kids to become in 10 or 20 years, and what will be the whole situation in Macau in 10 or 20 years. So a lot of things to think about.
So would that be one of the drawbacks, perhaps? I mean, it sounds like it's a major advantage, but perhaps maybe a bit of a disadvantage.
Well, it is a difficult thing for some parents, I would have to admit. Yeah.
And also, when here's something I learned that's super interesting about education in Macau. I'll ask another parent-related question. When you speak of the majority of schools in Macau being private, what about the tuition fees? When you speak private, does that mean I'm paying out of my own pocket?
Well, in other places of the world, yes, that's true. But in Macau, over 90% of the private schools are funded by the government.
By the government?
That means the parents do not have to pay the tuition fee, even though they want to enroll their students to those private schools. So they have this 15-year free education system that a lot of schools would join. So there are a few, less than 10 schools in Macau, that they charge for tuition fee, especially they're running an international program. Yeah.
And one more question, just to follow up to that. Apparently, Macau enjoys this exceptionally high, 90-something% of students can go enjoy higher education. And that's high for any place around the world. So could you sort of, help us peek behind the curtains a little bit about how that's come to being?
Actually, the percentage over 95%.
Yeah, 95%.
That means, well, maybe Justin knows about this as well. Yeah, while you're doing the non-tertiary education, from primary and secondary school education, there is no national or so-called examination for entering university. So the kids just apply, or we have this great benefit from the central government, from the Chinese mainland. We have this school recommendation scheme. So every school can recommend top students to the top universities in the mainland. So over 1,000 kids would choose that way. Yeah.
See, as a student, then that sounds fantastic. It sounds like, it's not as a grueling experience for some of us, but could that also come with certain drawbacks?
Nope.
Right now I'm talking about the education
Sorry,
system.
that was just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
For the kids and parents, they're happy. Yeah, especially Justin was talking about how the mainland students are hardworking. I mean, sort of like they have to. The competition is quite fierce in the Chinese mainland. Well, we do have competition back in Macau, but it's nothing comparable for the one you have here. Yeah, but from the perspective of the whole system, yes, we have taken this on both sides. On the other side, I mean, if you think about the management level of the higher education, then we are facing with a shortage of top students because they are all going out. They go to the mainland, or like Justin, they even go overseas. Yeah, we want to keep them because we have 10 universities here. We offer international programs, but it's a competition. It's competition. We want to win the top students, but then the total number is quite limited, I have to say. Yeah.
Justin, what do you think when we talk about perhaps the challenges in educational cooperation between the mainland and Macau? There's differences in language there. We've learned that. There's culture differences, perhaps, other aspects. How do you think some of those challenges can be addressed?
Okay, so for language, most of the time we have English, Chinese, and Portuguese. For example, in Macau, when we write papers or thesis, it has to be in English. But in Mainland, it's Chinese-oriented. So I'm not too worried about language barrier because currently we have AI. We can apply instant translation too. And also for education institution, we can apply some language program. So for culture, it takes time. It's gonna take time because there will be difference in curriculum, in assessment, or even resource access. For university, they can build some blend-in program or even exchange programs for both Macau students or Mainland students to go between cities to understand more about the two different cultures, places. I think the most challenging problem is the compatibility between the policy in Macau and in the Mainland. Because basically, the Macau education system is independent, mostly independent from Mainland system.
But all challenges can be overcome, and by the sounds of things, the students have the desire to learn and to want to know about the other systems and the other cultures that's happening. Right. So in that case, it makes the problem smaller, I guess.
Right. It takes time. It's going to be like phases.
And what are some of the successful examples or cases of the educational cooperation between Macau SAR and the Mainland?
Well, actually, since the return of Macau to the motherland, there are a lot of opportunities for educational cooperation and exchange. And I want to share a few examples. One is from higher education, and the central government has set up these national key laboratories in the universities of Macau. For example, there are 3 in University of Macau. One is in the Internet of Things for Smart City, so with a focus on urban big data, smart energy, or intelligent transportation. Another one is on Chinese medicine. They are looking at cancer or autoimmune disease. And the third one is on microelectronics. It's all about nano science projects. Yeah, very exciting. And we have a lot of opportunities to work with those scholars and experts from the mainland. So that has been quite successful. And in terms of the non-tertiary education, both in the Chinese mainland and Macau send school teachers over to visit every year. So we send our elite teachers to the Chinese mainland. So they receive training from East China Normal University in Shanghai. And then we're also hosting Macau Chinese mainland top teachers to visit us. So this communication and exchange, because it happens on an annual basis, so we have continuous collaboration and conversation between the both sides. So a lot of ideas are discussed, and I have seen the teachers got excited if they hear about from their peers about this cutting-edge teaching pedagogy philosophy, and especially nowadays about the technology integration. So many, many exciting moments. Yeah.
Yes.
So an opportunity for the teachers to exchange and learn and share ideas. Opportunities for the students as well?
Oh yeah, we keep hosting visitors from the mainland so they can come to the universities in Macau as exchange students. And just now back to the question, if they have experienced any cultural shocks, maybe at a certain level, I would say a little bit. For example, in the University of Macau, we have this British style of residential college. So we intentionally assign students from different backgrounds and academic discipline to live together in this whole community thing. So we are breaking the wall of majors, programs, and departments.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so they have to learn to socialize with people from everywhere. So I think for some mainland exchange students, they were like, hey, we're not looking for classmates. We're looking for people you can interact and learn and coexist. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a challenge, I can tell, especially if you're from the mainland, because you're kind of expecting your classmates to be your people, but now you actually need to go expand your social network, building your social network, even from, you know, your mates staying in the same dorm, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'm seeing actually there's a trend, like Macau student or mainland student, they are actually blending in because of the social media. We have Red Book, we have TikTok. I'm seeing increasing trend that Macau young students has been using more Red or TikTok, Douyin more often.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think that this online sort of communication can actually translate to offline communication?
Yes, definitely, because the hot topics, all the trends up there, they can share, they can exchange ideas, their thoughts and comments. So it's one of the soft power to blend in cultures.
For both of you, I would love to know your thoughts. If the future is now, what type of educational cooperation programs would you love to see between the mainland and Macau?
Okay, referring to the program I'm studying at right now, I found a really profound experience, which is a mentorship program. To connect students to some industry, real life industry, or some kind of founders, industry specific professionals to enhance education, academia to industry, to narrow the gap between what's the ideal theory and what's the actual practice. That's one of the best education cooperation I can foresee in the future.
Well, for you, Professor Joe, do you see some kind of organizational structure that could be in place to better support education cooperation between Macau and the mainland?
Well, I share the philosophy that for any kind of education system, it has to be adapted to the social and economic development needs of that area. So if you look at Macau in this very limited small piece of land, a lot of things are going on. And we need a lot of young talents to contribute to constructing the society in the way we intend it to be. So in that sense, I would say maybe it's the time we should take the road of industry, education, integration, and innovation. So we have to think about what are those pillar industries in the Greater Bay Area, for example, and those strategic emerging industries. And on the other hand, what are the academic disciplines and those emerging scientific research areas? So by combining those two thoughts together, perhaps we can establish a spatial layout of higher education to meet different needs of the society and also from different levels, regional or national and even global.
Well, the good news is that judging from the people we've spoken to in our studio audience and our online audience today, there's no shortage of talent coming in the mainland or Macau in the future.
They're all welcome to visit Macau and stay with us.
Yeah, that's why we have to enhance the education policy and governance to connect better between the mainland and Macau education system. I think we need more like a central body to oversee educational initiative across regions.
Well,
Yeah,
you heard it from Oh Jia-jun. He has this, grand scheme of things, in his mind. And I think that is really inspiring to hear from young people, your bright thoughts about the future. And talking about the future, what is your vision of education cooperation between Macau and the mainland, or just a blueprint for education in the future?
Because of the central government's new directives, that is to build Macau as an international hub for top-tier talents. So if we want to achieve this goal, Macau has to leverage her distinctive advantages and policy incentives to attract and remain those external talents, and while strengthening the mechanisms for nurturing local talents. So we need people first, and we need those young, excellent people. So even if you may not be born in Macau, but you are more than welcome to join us. And we send our top students every year to the other places, and we welcome you back. Yeah. So altogether, I think this is the future of how Macau could develop by talking and having conversations with not just the Chinese mainland, perhaps globally speaking. Yeah. So in that sense, I'm quite optimistic and pin very high hope on the future of Macau.
Wonderful.
Yes, and thank you so much to our two wonderful guests, Professor Zhou Mingming, Associate Dean of the Faculty of Education at the University of Macau, and Ou Jiajun, student at Tsinghua University. Thank you for your insightful and engaging discussion. Yes, we've learned so much about Macau's growth in the education sector and its future ahead.
Yeah, and I love that there's a focus on cooperation too, because when there's that focus on cooperation, and I think many of our audience members would agree, you have that natural curiosity to be able to go and learn in another place and take that knowledge back with you so that we can build a better future.
Shall we move on then?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're thrilled to have two more guests to come on stage and share with us their thoughts about the economy, economic development, which is a key part to the success of Macau. So come on up, Mac Hung Ip and Miss Choi Pao Man.
Hello.
Have a seat.
Please take a seat.
Have a seat there. Hi there.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Yeah, please take a seat. Yes, let's welcome our two esteemed guests, Mr. Mac Hung Ip, lawyer and private notary, and Choi Pao Man, entrepreneur, and also she is an executive director of the Youth Committee of Macau Chamber of Commerce. And let's give them a round of applause and welcome them.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it then. When we hear the term made in Macau, the brand potential of that, when we view the brand potential of that, how do you think young people are involved in the development of that brand?
I think Macau young people is part of that because this is the brand of Made in Macau. I think there is an audience from Macau. Is there anyone? Hey, raise up.
From Macau?
Oh, yeah. You see, the young people is full of confidence to Macau brand because this is from our Macau unique culture, and I think they will try to expand with this brand as to the universe. And also, I, as a lawyer, I have a little bit suggestion for them. Please make the trademark.
Make a trademark.
Make a trademark to have a legal protection for their products, especially from the maybe for the foodies or for the agriculture products. This is my opinion. This is for free. This is for free.
That's free legal advice. Please take that.
Yeah, and Pauman, I don't know if you want to get there, but your family has some experience in this field. You have set up two businesses, and just look at how young she is, but you're already very experienced in following your dreams and setting up a shop of your own. That is a big achievement. You're talking to someone who has no bone of entrepreneurship in her body whatsoever. So what do you think about this brand of Made in Macau? Is there something of a special resonance to you too?
First of all, thank you for having me. And as introduced by Haeyang, I am entrepreneur myself, and I started two brands of my own. And I'm talking about the Made in Macau brand. Of course, I think the brand has tremendous potential because during pandemic, I actually started a Made in Macau face mask brand in Macau, and I have the factory located in Macau. And I even named the face mask after the Macau area code 853. Does anybody know 853 is the area code to Macau? Yes, Macau audience knows. And yeah, so I think I named the face mask after the area code because I believe that the face mask can represent Macau citizens, and not only Macau citizens, and also as a Macau as an international city, it faces to the world. So the face mask itself speaks louder than anybody else. So by people looking at the face mask, they know it's from Macau.
Yeah, they know it's Macau.
Exactly.
It's a perfect advertising space.
Exactly, exactly.
In the context of Macau's role domestically, also internationally, how can young entrepreneurs in Macau, such as yourselves, innovate business models, thinking about business models and market reach? What can young entrepreneurs do to expand upon that?
Maybe in my point of view, as a legal perspective, I think Macau young people can expand their business to the foreign country or to the other country by showing them the Macau advantage. Especially we have many strategy is good for Macau young entrepreneurs, especially for the Macau is one platform for mainland China, so from mainland to Portuguese-speaking countries. This is Macau young people can have vote as a bridge between mainland to Portuguese-speaking countries, and also have to show them, show the Portuguese-speaking country as a good golden business card to show them what is Macau and tell them about the Chinese stories, tell them about the Macau stories.
Yeah, the relationship already exists.
Yeah.
So need to take advantage of that relationship.
And another advantage that Macau young entrepreneurs could, in theory, take up, that is, you're located in the Greater Bay Area, with Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau so close to each other and with so many ties amongst each other. Do you see that the young people, with their startups can take that as leverage?
Absolutely. Yeah, because as mentioned by the lawyer next to me, the central government has given Macau a unique position to be the one platform, one base, and
one center, one platform, one base.
Yes, one center, one platform, and one base. The platform meaning that a trading platform facing the Portuguese-speaking countries, and with another policy that has been promoted and encouraged by the Macau SAR, naming the CEPA, the Closer Economic Partnership Agreement, which is the closer ties within the Greater Bay Area, the GBA. We can actually leverage the advantage from each region next to us, and we can use the marketing and enjoy the free flow of talents and free flow of goods around the Greater Bay Area. So as you know, Macau is so small, so that once we have the product made, the market, the base is too small that we're not gonna, it's not a very sustained business without the market. So as long as the product can leave Macau and enjoy the vast consumer base in the Greater Bay Area, then I think that is very good for the Macau local brands.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and when starting a business as a young entrepreneur in this Greater Bay Area, what resources and support do you guys, from your own experience, feel like I would love to have that? And I think that's a really relevant question, because for all these bright minds out there who are thinking about starting something for themselves, and also you're creating job opportunities for Macau and other people as such. So what do you think that support would be ideally?
First of all, I think the government's support is very important to a young entrepreneur, because once I graduated from university, I wasn't an entrepreneur to start with. I tried out many jobs, and when I consider whether or not if I should leave the comfort zone and to step into this entrepreneur world, first of all, I would see if the government has any support to me. So the Macau SAR has given me the one-stop service, which helps me to start my company I think that could be answered by you, the one-stop service.
Okay.
And then the free lawyer, the free legal service is very important, because
only today.
No, because when we're trying to make ties with other countries, we're not too sure about the custom clearance, the entry criteria. We don't know that, and the Macau SAR has been having the platforms and some consultancy for us to seek help with. That's very good for people to thinking to get into business model.
Yeah. Maybe there's some more information for you guys because the central government have many support to our Macau's young entrepreneurs, especially for the cross-border business registration and also the dispute solution system, because there are several these systems. Maybe you know one country, two systems, but three legal areas. So you know Guangdong, Macau, and Hong Kong. There are three different areas because and also the government have give many legal rights and many systems and many strategy, especially also in the funding and also some open strategy for the Macau young entrepreneurs that is very friendly to them. So that's why I think Macau young entrepreneurs is really willing to enter to the GPA market.
As a younger generation of the Greater Bay Area, and I think both of you are qualified to answer this, how do you see your role in the region's economic integration and cooperation?
My role, because as a lawyer and also I got the license in GPA, also can doing some legal business or legal service to the in GPA area. My role, I think, is to show and give more legal advice or legal support to the entrepreneur, to the one who wants to start their business or doing business in GPA. And also we can help them to connect to many departments, to the government in Mainland or in Macau. I think this is my role, to show up how is the system is going to protect their business.
It's a similar answer to what you said, because you said coming out of university you had the plan to become an entrepreneur, but knowing that those resources were available to you, well, that led you to where you are today. And Mr. Bach, you're saying the same thing essentially, is that for people who may become interested, knowing that there are resources available to them, both ways, from Macau to the mainland and mainland to the Macau, knowing that they exist could inspire people to do something along those lines.
Yeah, and I have one employment and also future question for you guys regarding the young people in Macau, because we're looking at the economy is increasingly going on a diverse path. So how can you encourage more young people to go into these industries of tech, health, sports and culture, as well as finance? Do you think young people need a little bit of encouragement, or maybe they're good, they know best for themselves?
I think that's a very good question, because this is exactly what the Macau SAR government has been doing, because the government has been promoting with so-called 1+4 economic diversification policies, which includes the World Center of Tourism and Leisure being the 1+4, and 4 being the, what was mentioned was the big health, modern financial services, and the high tech and trade and convention and sports, city of sports. And so the Macau SAR it's actually supporting the young to pursue their dreams in these 4 categories. And instead of doing something like an entrepreneur, maybe you can think of being a brand agency or something along the line to help and be the driving force toward the economic diversification. And I think that's the, very...
Maybe some thoughts, or maybe not. Well, okay, so, one last question before we let you go. What do you see as the biggest opportunity for Macau when we're looking at, strengthening ties between Macau and the mainland, as well as, Hong Kong SAR, and all these cities in the Greater Bay region?
In my point of view, I think there is a slogan, is same city connection. Same city connection. What does it mean? It means because recently there are a strategy from central government to make a one entry multi-pass for the guys who work in GPA or maybe in living in Hanchin. There is more convenient for them to connect to Macau and do the culture or do the business. There's more chance for us to have the collaboration. So this is a good chance for us to do better and do business in GPA.
Reducing the difficulties
Yeah,
that exist and make it easier for everyone.
Yeah, reduce the barriers between maybe the time and also the visa. Yeah.
The closer we work together, the stronger we become.
Yeah. And a big thank you to our wonderful guests, Mac Hang Ip, lawyer, and Miss Chow Pauman, and you are an entrepreneur. And thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. And we truly appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Thank you for joining us today on Roundtable as we explored Macao's incredible journey and its bright future. Here's to the next 25 years and beyond. We hope today's discussions have inspired you as much as they've inspired us. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star review and tell a friend about us. We'd also love to hear from you. Share your thoughts with us at roundtablepodcast@qq.com. Feeling extra creative? Send us a voice memo or even ask a question to be featured on the air in our Heart to Heart segment. Thanks so much for listening. I'm He Young, and we'll see you next time.